Chapter 1. Earlier that day. The wind blew his hair back and sent his cloak billowing behind him as Darcy left the unremarkable inn where he had found an hour's rest and modest fare. The low, squat building stood perched close to the summit of the pass, a weather-beaten shelter for the intrepid souls who dared venture over the rough and inhospitable terrain. Few did, if any. Most Lakeland travellers sensibly chose the safer and tamer thoroughfares that kept to the valleys. There was nothing tame about the route across the hills. The road, in truth little more than a track, snaked in hairpin bends up the steep slope on his left, only to then negotiate the equally treacherous incline down the other side, towards Ullswater. Darcy was headed in the opposite direction, back to his ancestral home, having spent the best part of a fortnight roaming aimlessly on horseback over a bleak lake district. It was a bleak summer, in more ways than one. Of late, the weather had begun to match his state of mind, uniformly dark since April, when a brief interlude at the parsonage in Hunsford had blasted his best hopes. His offer of marriage had met with a refusal, a harsh refusal, vitriolic. One devil of a way for him to learn that the woman he loved beyond all reason not only did not return his sentiments, but held him in profound contempt. He had expected a favourable answer, tenderly bestowed. Instead, she had sent him away with a host of bitter reproaches ringing in his ears. A great many days had elapsed before he could relinquish the deep sense of ill usage and acknowledge that her reproofs were justified. He sighed. He could see his errors now, and the flaws in his character and judgment, but it made no difference. He could not change what had come to pass. Darcy turned around with somewhat of a start when the heavy door opened noisily behind him. It was the innkeeper, and about time too, he inwardly grumbled.
"I asked for my horse. He is long in coming,"
Darcy observed, rather too brusquely.
"He's being readied as we speak, sir. But as I said afore, I reckon you'd best leave him to his oats and take shelter here for the night."
Darcy gave a quiet snort. No wonder the man was so keen to have his custom. Indeed, any custom. The inn was empty as far as he could tell. Given its exceedingly remote location, that was no wonder either. He resolved to remunerate the fellow more generously than was warranted for the simple fare and his mount's comforts, but all he said was, "No need. I will reach Ambleside by nightfall."
"Mayhap, but you won't have an easy ride, and you can be assured of a wet one. I'll catch up with you in no time at all,"
the innkeeper muttered with a nod towards the ceiling of ominous dark clouds that hung very low over the Ullswater valley, hiding the summits opposite, as though the hills had been severed in half. Darcy frowned. In all likelihood, the storm clouds would soon descend over the pass into the next valley, obscure the road, and slow his progress. He shrugged. Be that as it may, he was in no humour to find himself marooned in a god-forsaken country inn. He had found it hard enough to tolerate being marooned at Ashford, his uncle's seat some 30 miles away. Very much against his every inclination, he had given in to his cousin Richard's prodding, and travelled there along with his sister, so that they might spend some time with their Fitzwilliam relations, reluctantly acknowledging that he owed her this. Georgiana deserved better than being cooped up at home with a morose brother. Colonel Fitzwilliam had teasingly observed, and however much he had resented Richard's words and manner, Darcy could not fail to concede him the point. Georgiana did deserve a vast deal better than months upon months at Pemberley, with no society but that of an elderly companion, a love-lorn brother, and the odd caller from neighbouring estates. Despite his best efforts, she simply would not be persuaded to journey north with their cousin and leave him behind. So Darcy had no option but to shoulder his duty and, for his sister's sake, countenance conviviality at Ashford for a while. 3 weeks turned out to be more than he could bear. Too much noise there, too much bustle, and far too many people. Far too many queries, too, kindly, but decidedly unwelcome, into the cause of his long silences, his dark mien, and his altered manner. Was he unwell, troubled, Weary? Bored? Was there aught amiss at Pemberley?